Hello. So this week's video is going to be about, sorry it feels super awkward, books. Wow. So I'm someone who has always read a lot in my life, like starting as a kid, because my mom really got me and my younger sisters into books and reading. But when things got busy, I kind of stopped, and only recently, last year, I picked it back up again. And now I'm at a point where I read about one book a week. And the reason I say about is because sometimes I don't read one book. Sometimes it's like it takes me 2 weeks to read a book, either because it's too long to read within a week given my other responsibilities, or it's just I just don't feel like it. And because of that, I titled a video what I titled it, how trying, emphasis on the trying, to read one book a week is changing my life. And the reason I did this is because I see a lot of videos on YouTube that are kind of aimed towards the self-improvement crowd or whatever, and they'll have titles like how I started waking up at 4 a.m. every morning, or how I read 100 books this year, and just like really extravagant goals like that. Although the content creator has good intentions, I guess, because they're giving you tips on how you can incorporate that activity into your life. When I see a title that is that high reaching, if that makes sense, I kind of get discouraged right away, because I kind of separate myself from the person in the video. Like, oh, that person is someone who's diligent enough to be able to read 100 books and not mess up the entire year, not even once. Or it's like that person is someone who won't ever press snooze, but I'm someone who presses snooze, so I can't really accomplish this, so even if I listen to these tips, I won't be able to do it. So because of that, that's why I titled this video, because I want it to be more of a achievable goal, because everyone can try, right? You don't have to be a specific way to be able to try to do something. So yeah, anyway, let's get started. So ever since I started reading again, it's been a little more than a year now, I've actually noticed some very observable changes in myself and my behavior that actually have, I would say, have increased my quality of life. And I directly attribute those changes to my reading habit. So I'm going to talk about them now. Number one, books really help me change my perspective. And this is a really important thing for me, because the more information you collect from anything, from books, videos, etc., the more knowledge you have, and therefore the more perspectives you have to view different situations as, and this can help you be more empathetic because you understand things better, and that also leads you to understanding our reality better. So when I read a book, it's like almost like I'm reaching through space and time, connecting with the thoughts that another person at some point has had and that they're writing down, and I can directly just like absorb those and use those ideas to help me shape my own thoughts and my own perspective on things. The more knowledge you have, the greater your perspective is, and I just think that's really important to knowing what to do, you know, in life, because we're kind of just all thrown here and it's like, now go. And some people have really strict belief systems that they follow to help them guide them through life, but for me right now, I don't have that. So when I read books, especially when I read fiction as well, like some people think that reading fiction isn't really a productive activity, but I find that it is, because as you follow a character through their life and through their experiences, you are exposed to all the situations that they're exposed to, and then you get to see how they worked through them. And if you are ever in a similar situation in your own life, you can consult that book in a way to help you figure out what to do yourself. This has actually even helped me when talking to other people. Like for example, if someone tells me something that they're struggling with, or they're just telling me about something that happened to them, even if I can't directly relate to what they're talking about, I find myself saying things like, oh, I read this one book where the whatever was talking about this, and because I had that experience through the book, I'm still able to relate with what the other person is saying, you know? And sometimes I can even offer them more insight and can actually help them because of what I read, if that whatever has some research associated with it or something. So I find that really cool too. It's just like you get so many new ideas to think about, and it's so cool. Like that feeling I get when something I read or someone tells me something, or I watch something and it provokes me to think of a new thought that I've never thought of before. The feeling of excitement I get is so nice. Like honestly, I feel like I'm addicted to that feeling, and that's why I'm constantly like trying to learn as much as I can about everything, because I just love thinking about new things. I'm just a learner, you know? Number 2, it has vastly improved my attention span. I used to be so distracted whenever I had to get something done. I would go on my phone all the time. I would constantly be thinking about other stuff that I had to do, or notifications that were popping up on my phone. I could not resist. And ever since reading, I have found it very easy to just like fully get into whatever I'm doing, and I can do it for hours and not feel the need to do anything else but that. Even if I'm not enjoying that activity, I still am able to focus a lot. And I think that's just because when you read, you have to focus really hard on what you're reading to understand what's going on. So yeah. Number 3, my reading speed has improved. Because I read a lot when I was younger, a lot of people tell me that I read really fast, and that's true, but now since I started reading again, it's actually improved even more. And that's helped me with like studying and things like that, because now I can get through material quicker, and not only just like read the words, but I can understand and extract what I need to know from that quicker, which is very helpful. And number 4, I feel like I am speaking and writing better because of reading, because reading increases your vocabulary. So for example, when I'm speaking, sometimes I'll have situations where I say something and I use a word that I've never used before, and I use it without even thinking about using it, and only after I have said the whole sentence out loud, I'll say something like, oh my god, I can't believe I just used that word. That's like, I'm so excited. Like, it's such an exciting feeling because I didn't expect myself to use such a great word in that situation. Like, I didn't even know I knew that word, but I still used it. And it's just a really cool feeling when you're like, wow, you're impressed by yourself. And again, with vocabulary, it also helps you write better, because now you have access to more words to use when you're in your own writing. And as well, because I read such a variety of different authors now, I feel like I subconsciously absorb their writing styles and implement them in my own writing, so that's even improved. When I was younger, I used to always think that I wasn't good at writing because my English class marks weren't as high as my other marks. So I always like wrote it off as something that I didn't know how to do well. And so therefore I didn't really enjoy writing either. But ever since I started reading again, I love writing. Like, I love the process of it is not as scary to me as it used to be. And I always am so proud of myself with the final product, because I honestly didn't expect that I could do such a thing, which is really cool. And then number 5, it is a meditative escape, the process of reading. And honestly, it functions the same way in relation to escapism as a TV show or movie would. It takes you out of your own life, because everyone needs that sometimes. Sometimes it's so hard you've been dealing with your own stuff for so long, it's hard, you kind of need to like step back and take a break. And putting yourself in someone else's world, like through fiction, is so helpful. And I even prefer reading to watching something, because I find it a more productive activity, because I know it's improving all these other skills. First of all, it leaves me feeling less stressed because it's like a full break. I'm fully engrossed in another story and not my own. And secondly, I feel really good about myself after, because I'm like, wow, I'm so happy, I'm so productive, you know? Don't know how to transition, but The next part I want to talk about is how you can incorporate reading into your life. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking back to what I talked about at the beginning. Like, I don't want this to seem like an unattainable thing. Like, I want to give tips that are actually useful. So when I was thinking about this, I thought about two things. Number one is, if you want to read more, make sure that you actually want to read. And what I mean by that is, sometimes when we want to do more of an activity, we want to do it because we think it's gonna make us a certain way. Like, oh, really successful people read a lot, so I want to read a lot because if I read a lot, then therefore I am successful. But that's not necessarily true. And if you don't enjoy the process of reading, if you're seeing reading as a means to an end, I don't think that you'll be able to read a lot. Like, you might be able to read a little bit, but if it's hard for you to get through a book and it's hard for you to, and then you dread it and it's a chore, then honestly, you're not going to be able to read one book a week. I'm just being honest. It's not gonna happen. And if you genuinely still want to read more, work on enjoying the process. Like, work on trying to find reading material that you like reading, and then once you enjoy reading, then set a goal for yourself to read more. If you want to read because you want to achieve, like, for example, all the things that I talked about earlier in this video, you don't have to read to get to those things. You can find activities that help you grow those strengths that you like more than you like reading, and you should do that instead of doing something that you don't like doing. So that's number one. Number two is, don't set a quantity goal for yourself. Like, don't say that, oh, I'm gonna read 50 books this year, because that's already kind of setting you up for discouragement. Because, for example, say something happens and you can't, you're now behind in your goal. Now it's gonna be like, for the rest of the challenge or whatever, you're gonna be stressed and you're gonna see reading as something stressful rather than what it should be, a escape and meditative and enjoyable. So don't do that. Instead, you should set a goal like, I want to read every single day, and that's like open enough that you can read an hour a day, you can read 5 minutes if you don't have that much time, but as long as you read every day, then of course you're gonna overall have finished more books, you know? So look at it that way. Don't pressure yourself. So also, some things that people sometimes they'll ask me about, like, oh, how can you afford reading? And like, I can't, how do you buy all those books to read? Like, you read so quick. And I don't spend any money on books. I have library memberships. So every time I want to read a book, I just put it on hold. I go to the library, pick it up, read it, return it. And recently I bought a Kobo ebook reader, and these libraries, they also offer ebooks the same way they offer physical books, and you can put those ebooks on hold and then have them directly downloaded onto your e-reader, and you don't even have to leave your house for that. So yeah, there's so many ways to read, and you don't have to pay for it because we've been blessed with libraries. And then some people also have a hard time figuring out what to read next, because if you want to read more books, you should always, when you're currently reading something, you should always know what you want to read next. And a good way to do that is through this social media reading platform called Goodreads.com. And what this is you have a profile, you can list what you're currently reading, you can review books, you can rate books, and based on those ratings, the platform will offer you new recommendations. As well, you can have friends on there so you can see what your friends are reading, and that can really help you know what to read next. And so that's really helped me, because they also have a little feature where you can create a want to read list, and once you fill that list once, you can kind of just go through it one by one, all the books, and you'll always know what to read next. And then as well, when you're reading, sometimes books tell you, like, mention other books, and you can find books through that. So yeah, that's not really a problem. Once you start reading, I can assure you, you'll always know what to read next if you really get into it. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I think that's it. I hope I covered everything that I wanted to cover. If you have any questions or anything like that, you can either leave a comment below or DM me on Instagram if that's more comfortable for you, and I'll be happy to answer. And if you want any book recommendations or you want to see what I read, check out my Goodreads. I always link my Goodreads in my description, and add me as a friend on there. So yeah, we can talk about books. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go now.